You're kind. You.
Yeah, recording started. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to another session of Leadership Talk with Adegoke. And I have my friend again from United States of America, Jones Loflin. On the last episode, we had a session together on leadership and productivity, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. So sit back and relax and listen in for this episode on leadership and managing up. How are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, fantastic, Adegoke. Here in my part of the United States, it's just the weather's perfect. Great to be outside. Things are growing and blooming. It's just absolutely gorgeous in my part of the world. Now, all the pollen sufferers aren't liking it, but I am.
Awesome, awesome. That's a good one. Now, let's jump into it. Leadership and managing up. Can you tell us, I mean, the last time you were talking about leadership, you said that leadership is about helping people to grow. Do you have something else to add to leadership? I mean, in terms of definition?
I think I would just expand it, say leadership is all about growing yourself, growing your team, and growing you know, the business or the organization or whatever the impact or the measurables or metrics that your company or organization has. But I think those are the three key components: yourself, your team, which is all the individual members of that team, and the organization as well.
Awesome, awesome. Now, Jones, tell us, what is managing up to you? Managing up.
It's a great phrase. It's a great question. Managing up is, in my opinion, managing up is getting better alignment with that person you report to,
Okay.
that supervisor or director, but getting better alignment with them about expectations, how the work gets done, even goals sometimes. But that's
Okay.
what think about when I think about managing up. And the reason that's important is because most of the time we think about managing down,
Yeah.
which is that supervisor gives us those things and we go, yes, as we're going to talk about today,
Yeah.
it doesn't always work perfectly, does it?
No, no. I mean, the times that you can find yourself in a situation that, even while you're trying to manage your boss, it could be very sensitive because you could be seen as someone who's trying to usurp the roles of your boss. So but you have all the answers, don't you?
No, no, that's your next guest. It's not me. You've got me confused, Adegoke.
Oh no, I was just kidding. Now
I
tell
know.
us, in what ways can you really manage your leader,
Sure.
and do it in an authentic manner? Yeah.
Right. And I like that last part there. You said do it in an authentic manner.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I'm going to use a framework or a model that comes from a book called Good Authority by Jonathan Raymond. And he talks a lot about proactive accountability. And you're like, wait a minute, this session's about managing up. It's not about accountability.
Yeah.
I think his model works really well when we're talking about managing up. And there's different steps to it. But the first thing I think when you're managing, wanting to communicate differently, wanting to set different expectations with your leader, let's just use the term leader, and that's manager, supervisor, whoever, is
Yeah.
that you need to start by, noticing,
Hmm.
by being curious. I noticed I didn't hear back from you on the what you thought about X or Y. Um, just wanted to check in.
Yeah.
Okay, and see that's just introducing something. Now, it
Hmm.
may be that that person didn't have they just forgot.
Okay.
So we don't want to assume malintent, but just to say I noticed.
Hmm.
I think that's a great point to stop. The second part of that process is kind of a second part of that is
Yeah.
that okay, I've seen this happen a couple times. And so now you're indicating a little bit of a pattern, and I'm curious, how can we do things differently so that we
Okay.
get the outcome or something. I think that's the third one, second one. The
Yeah.
third part of this process, then I'll stop because I know I'm offering a lot. I just want to get it out there. The third one is It's more of that we need to talk, but you don't say we need to talk. None of us get excited when somebody says, "Hey, Adegoke, we need to talk," because you
Yeah,
start thinking about what have I done wrong, or you know what, I bet they're going to challenge me on something, and I'm going to be ready for them. That's not helpful.
yeah,
But phrasing it is that I'd like the opportunity to talk about communication or how we work together.
okay.
But starting it that way is a much less threatening way. But so I think those are some immediate steps that people can take to begin to move things in a more positive direction.
Okay, that's a good one. As usual, you just releasing nice insights, which is a good one. If you're just joining us, this is Leadership Talk with Adegoke. And this episode is Managing Up, Leadership and Managing Up, and I have with me Jones Loflin from the United States of America. Now, Jones, the times when you need to be visible, you need to be seen by your leader to be, just adding value. How can you strike that balance and not to be seen as someone who's just trying to curry favor? Just
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. I think it's important to communicate the value
yeah,
that you are bringing to the team, to the organization. And that doesn't mean that you're always, talking about yourself, but I
yeah,
think it's looking for those opportunities to mention when
yeah,
you have done something that's in alignment with um, what you're wanting to accomplish. If, for example, Adegoke, if you're my leader
yeah,
and I want to communicate my value, it might be, Adegoke, the other day you mentioned, so
yeah,
now you're showing you were paying attention,
yeah,
or I'm showing I paid attention. Adegoke, the other day you mentioned possibly looking into XYZ.
yeah.
I had a couple minutes, and so I just took the liberty to check on that. And if you'd like to see some of what I found, I'd love to share that with you. Or would you be interested in seeing what I found? But communicating the value you bring, I think, is really important. Like you said, not just to be seen to like, hey, I want to be seen. I want you to pay attention. Wow, I'm still here.
Yeah,
But communicate the value you're bringing because they may not often see it.
yeah,
You're as a leader, you're busy trying to keep things moving forward with all the team members. Just sharing that, I think sometimes is a good first step.
awesome, awesome. Now, what if you find yourself in a situation where you send reminders to your leader and say this, there's a timeline for this. I just felt it's important for me to remind you, and your boss or your leader says, "Oh, I'll get back to you," and the time is almost running out. So what do you do? Do you send another reminder, or you just wait for your leader to remember?
No. There's the short answer. I think it's important in those situations for you to take control. And for example, Adegoke, if you said that to me, if I'm your leader, if you said that to me, hey, we're coming up on the deadline this Friday and
Yeah,
it's Wednesday, then I think it's important to be more specific with your question, and it's not just kind of leaving it to chance, but say,
yeah.
is it okay if I check in with you Thursday afternoon?
Okay.
Or,
Yeah.
can I check back with you on Thursday around lunch? And of
Mm,
course, that leader's busy and goes, oh, sure, 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 sure.
mm,
Well, they may forget,
mm.
but you're the one in control here. So on Thursday, you said, hey Jones, we had talked about me checking back in with you on Thursday. Just wanted to see where we are with that.
Awesome.
Um,
Now,
and then let me add one more piece. Let me add one more
yeah,
piece. Then, I mean, because I know some of your listeners are going, Jones, I'm really uncomfortable with that because it's like I'm micromanaging my
yeah.
boss. Well, again, if you have established the expectation, you're not micromanaging. If
Okay.
you've asked for permission to reach out to your boss to check on that, and they've said yes, you have permission to do that. Now, when you do it, the other thing is to again communicate the value.
Yeah.
How can I help you with this? If you meet with if you called me on Thursday and you say, okay, Jones, just checking in, say, you know what, Adegoke, I've just been swamped.
Mm.
I understand. How can I help with this? What
Awesome.
can I do to take some pressure from you? So I'll
Awesome.
stop now. I'm sorry. Long answer.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, literally what you're saying is you take ownership, you gain the respect of your boss as well, or your leader,
Right.
by
Right.
showing that you also want to be part of what the vision is, and
Mhm.
yeah, you're not just someone who is passive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but tell
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
what are the benefits of managing up? Just about three benefits
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
your career if you're able to
Sure.
manage your leader. Yeah, three
Sure.
benefits. Yeah.
Three benefits of managing up. One is that it's showing the value, or you're showing the value and the commitment you have to the organization. It's showing what you can contribute, that
Okay.
you are not just a passive person wanting to get a paycheck. You actually are invested in the success of the team, of the organization. So when you show that type of initiative, I think that's really important. Second, it's an excellent way for you to practice your leadership skills and
Awesome.
to sharpen them. I think that's a second way that it's of value to manage up. The third one is that it's just it's an effective way to be a good human being, is to show, hey, I want to support and I want to help my leader succeed, not just me. And I don't want my leader to look bad. I want them to be successful. So you're showing them, hey, it's part, I want to be part of the team. I'm not here to make you look bad, or to make you look like you can't do your job. I want to be a part of success.
Right. Okay. So what if you don't have the what it takes to manage up, and do you need to be trained, or to get some, special
Hmm.
mentorship or training before you can begin to, or is it something that is inborn, or
No, I think it does take, training and guidance to be able to effectively manage up. And I would encourage your listeners that if they're in a situation where they feel like they do need to be more intentional about managing up, go find someone who you respect, who you feel like might have been in that situation before and might understand why you want to do that and can give you some suggestions or ideas. I think that's really critical, because especially if it's someone within the organization who will hold things confidential, they may know some things
Mm,
about that leader that you don't. They
mm,
may have some context that they might say to you. For example, someone might say to you, Adegoke, if they know me and you don't know me as well, you know what? Jones got a lot on him right now. He's got elderly parents who are in failing health, and I know that's taking up a lot of his time. And you're going, oh, okay, well that's helpful in understanding why he's not meeting my deadlines or is not as attentive to my needs as he normally is. So in that situation, you might, kind of give some more grace to your leader, as they work through that, or being more sensitive to how you can help that person in that situation. So, yes, find someone who may understand what's going on with that leader or manager, maybe a little more than you do, and or find someone who has managed up before, and get some tips from them.
awesome, awesome, nice one, awesome. Now, I just want to share this story with you.
Mhm.
I listened to it, on a podcast, and this leader who was a bit temperamental,
Mhm.
and he had an executive assistant. So
Okay.
the executive assistant was always the one that schedules, meetings and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. And
Hmm.
so you have to approach the executive assistant. And
Hmm.
the table had red for is in a bad mood, and blue, good mood. And so if you go to the office, I want to see the leader. Once you see red, you know, he's in a bad mood, and you see blue, he's in a good mood. Now, when you see the red, which indicates that he's in a bad mood, what should you turn back, or on or
So to
keep?
make sure I understand. So in other words, if you need to have a conversation with that leader and you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
the red that they're in a
yeah,
bad mood,
yeah,
hmm, that's a great question. I guess I would take a step back and say, what has that leader communicated that they want
yeah,
that executive assistant to do when they see red?
yeah,
And I think that's important for that executive assistant to ask that question, is to say, okay, Jones, if I'm that person, Jones, when I see the red,
what should
what
we
would
do?
you like for me to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't assume, but ask them, and then that way you'll know how to manage it.
Wow.
Too often, I think in situations where there is conflict between a manager and somebody who reports to them, there's just they haven't established clear guidelines and boundaries,
Okay.
in those situations, so that they know how to interact with each other.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, what role does listening play in managing up? I mean, do you, I mean, in terms
It's
of,
critical. Okay, next question, Adegoke. It's critical. No. Yeah, and
listening. Now
that's
let me just
yeah,
bring it into context.
yeah.
You listen for the body language,
Mm,
you listen for the tone in
mhm,
terms of the pitch, the voice. I mean,
mhm.
if you're able to listen, what role does listening play? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's important to listen to, as you said, their body language, listen to the person, not so much the problem or their words. Do
Yeah.
they sound confident? Do you sense a lack of confidence? Do you hear frustration? And I think it's important when you're managing up to speak to that as much as you can appropriately do,
Hmm.
to say to someone, you seem frustrated about the situation.
Okay.
It's just to acknowledge, what's in the room there. Or it seems like we don't have a clear path here. And
Hmm.
just to kind of let that person go, okay, they get it, they understand. So I think that's one part of listening. The other part is asking good questions so that you can listen and get the information you need.
Yeah.
The magic phrase that we could solve so many conflicts and get so much more information if more often people would say, "Help me understand.
Hmm. Hmm.
Help me understand the process here.
Hmm.
Help me understand how we want to work through this. Help me understand what happened here."
Hmm.
Because then when you ask that question and really listen, you'll get information that's going to help you understand how to take the next step with your boss. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one because if you're able to listen, it adds value to even, you get a lot of insights as to how to
Yes.
move forward. Because
Yes.
sometimes all you just want to say is, what's in your mind. But
Mhm.
sometimes it might not be appropriate. If you
Yeah.
listen well, it might be another opportunity to bring it up, particularly if the environment doesn't seem right.
Yeah. And that's a great point, Adegoke. You got to read the room, as we say. You
Yeah.
got to have that intuition that kind of tells you, yeah, I think this person might be open to having this conversation, or they're not open to this conversation, and not just pushing it because it's convenient in the moment.
Wow, wow. This has been another amazing session.
Mm.
Last question, I mean,
Yes.
you're always awesome, the
Well,
energy,
thank
the
you.
balls. I just want to appreciate you.
Well,
The
thank you,
last session
Adegoke.
on leadership and productivity was amazing, and this is also super amazing. Thank you for what you do
Thank you.
and for your leadership. Now, the
Thank
last
you.
question is, what would you like, just to, say to someone who is just in between and say, look, um, I'm not able to manage my boss, my leader anymore. I
Mm,
just want to walk out. I just want to take a walk, just leave the
mm,
organization.
sure.
There's a saying
Yeah.
that people don't leave companies, uh, they leave, they leave, people, it's because they're not able to work with people. That's why
Right.
organization, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. My advice to them, I can think of two or three things. I can't think of just one thing, but I think the first one is to talk to someone who
yeah,
has your best interest at heart. Now
yeah.
that's key. Has your best interest at heart,
Okay.
so that they'll ask you good questions. Well, tell me more about that. Help me understand. So I think that's the first one. The
Yeah.
second thing is to ask yourself: Is this a season, or does this feel like a forever thing?
Hmm.
Where leaders are human.
Hmm.
Sometimes they are going through difficult seasons when they are going to work with their teams a little differently. And if we don't understand what they're going through, and if we don't have context, we can misread some of those signals
Right.
about how things are being approached. And I think the third one is to have the confidence, to have that, what's the book? Crucial conversation. Be
Hmm.
willing to have the confidence to say to your boss, I really enjoy working here, or I want to be successful here, and
Mm,
I'd like for us to have a conversation about, and then whatever it is, the lack of communication, or I feel frustrated. Remember,
mm,
people can't argue with your feelings.
mm,
They can't. They might try to invalidate them, but they're yours.
mm.
I feel frustrated. I feel isolated. I feel undervalued because this is happening. And then just stop
Wow.
talking, and
Wow.
let them respond and go. You
Wow.
know, Adegoke, I hadn't even noticed. I've been so busy with other things. So those
Wow.
would be the three things I would suggest.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Jones, you've said it all. I mean, and I also like to say communicate, communicate, communicate. Just so important.
Exactly.
Just so important.
Exactly. Yep.
Our listeners all over the world, thank you for tuning in once again to Leadership Talk with Adegoke. And this session has been amazing. Um, we've been talking about leadership and managing up, leadership and managing up. So, till the same time, next time, please stay tuned for another session of Leadership Talk with Adegoke. Jones, do you want to say something before we wrap up?
Before we wrap up, the only thing, Adegoke, first of all, thank you. I love, I guess can only be as good as the host and the questions they ask, and you ask great questions, and I appreciate that. For your listeners, I would love for them to reach out on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and connect with me, Jones Loflin. That's probably the best way for us to connect, since your audience is all around the world. That would be the most effective. And then, if I can be of service in other ways, once we're connected on LinkedIn, we'll figure out what that looks like.
That's it. There you go. Thanks, Jones.
Oh,
Thank
my pleasure. Until